Good evening. Hi, welcome. Thanks for coming out tonight. My name is Andy Over, and I teach graphic design and illustration and drawing here at Bethany, and have done so for a very long time. A couple of words of warning. If the screen blinks out, I just learned that we inherited this from a dormitory, and the reason that happened is because it kept turning off randomly. So if it turns off, just be patient and wait for one more second. Another word of warning, the paintings on the wall here are still wet. If you brush up against one of those, you'll get a nasty surprise that will never wash out. Thank you for coming tonight. I'm very pleased and honored to introduce these four very talented young ladies. It's a little bit weird having a exhibition like this. Three of our four artists are graphic designers. And graphic designers tend to work alone, and they don't have shows. In fact, they do a lot of work that might be seen by lots of people, but they never get credit for it because their name doesn't appear on it. And so now we have a very great privilege of seeing work that's been done here. Some of this work is a year in the making. Can you believe that? I'd like to introduce our first designer, Darsie Stockman. And she's here from Janesville. And please give her your undivided attention. Got it?
Yep. All right. Hi, I'm Darsie. For those who don't know me, I enjoy using art and design as an expressive outlet and to create with purpose and meaning. In my free time, I enjoy spending time with family and friends, visiting local shops, and fishing. I also love spontaneous trips, especially to the beach. My interest in design is quite broad. I enjoy producing things from apparel and logos to greeting cards and websites. For my capstone, I chose to design graphics for a clothing line and a website where my brand and portfolio are displayed. My clothing demonstrates the skills I've learned here at Bethany and serves as a wearable expression of Christian faith, sharing the gospel while providing both comfort and style. My website is a home for my self-promotional efforts and exhibits the many various things I've made. You are also able to purchase my apparel there as well. I'm truly excited to share all that I've created for this exhibit. Before I moved here, I used to live in North Carolina. I have a deep love for the Carolina coast and its beaches, the mountains as well. Every summer we visit North Carolina, and I keep in touch with my cousins and friends throughout the year. Although it's been 15 years since we've moved, North Carolina will always hold a special place in my heart. Living in Minnesota really makes me miss those things, especially right now with the snow. But the beauty of sunrises, sunsets, and vibrant colors bring me a feeling of peace, comfort, and joy. I wanted my brand to reflect these values, bringing a burst of warmth, light, and positivity. To determine my brand, I had to establish several things. For my logo, I chose to use my first name and part of my middle name, Min. Min is my birth name, so my parents kept that and blessed me with another middle name, Augusta. The Min is actually straight from my handwriting. Shout out to my third grade teacher for teaching me cursive so well. The colors that I chose represent all of my values. I wanted a fun and unique font that was still modern, so I selected these three fonts. I knew from the get-go that I wanted the brand to feel welcoming and to radiate happiness and joy. I made this for individuals who appreciate the beauty of God's creation, are always down to run and watch the sunrise or sunset, and love combining comfort with style. This includes teenagers, young adults, college students, and women. I wanted to create something that you could wear that would express Christian faith. It shares the gospel while also being comfortable and stylish as well. I intentionally picked the colors and illustrations to draw attention, and they also embrace God's creation. I have high hopes that the apparel I've created will spark conversations that can lead further into talking about your faith. I tried to go through other people to produce these hoodies, but after complications, I decided to create them on my own. My sister has her own business, so I was able to use her heat press. After doing some research, I ordered hoodie blanks and heat print vinyls. so all of the sweatshirts are pressed by me. Each graphic has biblical scripture with the leading phrase and illustration that I've drawn to go along with it. This required a bit of research to determine the appropriate style for my brand. For example, if I were to choose a globe, I would Darsify it by adjusting its form and colors to match the stylistic elements found in my other work. I drew the illustrations digitally using a platform called Corel Painter. Rooted in Faith was based on Colossians 2, verses 6 through 7. I love these verses because it serves as a foundational reminder that we are rooted firmly and built up in Jesus, and that with Him we can overcome the challenges and uncertainties that come our way. It also reminds us to live with a heart full of thanksgiving and to recognize the continuous grace and goodness God has given each of us in our lives. Faith Can Move Mountains is based on Matthew 17, verse 20. I wanted to use this verse because it highlights that with genuine faith, we can overcome all of the obstacles and challenges in life, big or small. Nothing is impossible when you trust in God's power and promises. Faith can lead to transformation and breakthroughs. Let all you do be done in love is based on 1 Corinthians 16, verse 14. This verse emphasizes that love should be a foundation of all of our actions. It highlights the importance of showing Christ-like love in everything we do. Whether it be in our relationships or at work, we should be showing the love of God towards others. Made in the image of God is based on Genesis 1, verses 27. This verse reminds us that every person is uniquely and intentionally made in God's image. There's no other person like yourself, and each of us are wonderfully made by a loving Creator. Love one another is based on John 13, verse 34. This verse emphasizes that love is the core of our Christian identity and relationships. It also challenges us to reflect God's love in our interactions, showing kindness, forgiveness, and compassion to those around us, no matter the circumstances. Bear good fruit was based on Galatians 5, verses 22 through 23. This verse serves as a reminder that as we grow in our faith, these qualities should naturally overflow from us and reflect how we live out God's character, positively impacting those around us. I've used this project to practice creating a brand, their identity, and a website to demonstrate my knowledge of what I've learned so far. Working on this project for the past year has expanded my knowledge and love for design. While I've always had a strong interest in design, dedicating time to create various design projects has enhanced my appreciation to produce impactful and effective work. It's a lot of trial and error, but it's better now than later, and not everything is going to be perfect. Producing the sweatshirts was the most difficult part, and if you were to ask me what was the hardest part, I'd be stuck between figuring out the size for the heat press transfers and actually pressing the transfers onto the hoodies. I've also learned that risk has reward. It just may be further down the line, like way down the line. Looking back, I feel very accomplished with what I've created. I honestly didn't think I was going to go through with everything that I made. I want to say a special thank you to my friends and teachers who have helped me with various things along the way, from their input and feedback to support and encouragement. A huge shout out to Skylar for capturing these amazing photos and her sister for modeling. They understood my vision, and boy did they deliver. I'm also incredibly grateful to my parents for supporting and helping with the funds to make this all happen. And lastly, I want to thank Hannah and Emmeline. This semester we've had every school day together, and being able to support and relate to one another has been an experience that I'll never forget. None of this would be complete without all of the help and support I had, and I could not be more grateful. Thank you all to those who came, and that's all I've got. Save your questions for afterwards. Next, we have Hannah.
Hi, I'm Hannah Rethemeyer, and before I get into my actual capstone project, I just wanted to give a background on why I decided that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Where did my creative journey start? Or to be more specific, when did I decide that I wanted to do graphic design? Honestly, I have no idea. For as long as I can remember, I have been creating. Whether it was from sneaking onto the computers to work in Word Publisher, or to have the most elaborate presentations in class. I can actually vividly remember my 7th grade teacher telling me that I needed to start a business for designing presentations because I was better at designing than actually gathering information for them. Or I just needed to work with the smartest kid in class because his design-wise weren't as good as mine. Then that transitioned into high school, where all my high school teachers were throwing many graphic design projects at me, either if it was just getting advice or actually making stuff for them. I also then decided to take the yearbook class, and I really enjoyed taking that. And I also took part in FBLA, where I had several presentations, graphic design related, placed both at state and national levels. Also during high school, also during high school, I started doing projects for my mom at Camp Trinity and Christian News. These range from social media posts, flyers, random newspaper inserts, and even book covers. I really enjoyed jobs for Camp Trinity because I, for the most part, was given complete creative freedom. Occasionally, my mom and uncle would give input on what they wanted, but most of the time, there's the stuff I made for them. But most of the time, they trusted me to get the designs they needed done. Well, and then somewhere in there, during my senior year of high school, I decided that graphic design was the career path for me, which about 3.5 years later turned into me standing in front of you guys giving this presentation. So now the reason you actually came here to listen to me tonight, Beyond the Meadow. Why Beyond the Meadow? Beyond the Meadow allowed me to combine my love for nature and design. With growing up on a camp in a small town in Missouri, I had a lot of time to adventure in the woods, which is where I developed a deep love for nature. And somewhere deep in my mind, without even realizing it at the time, I knew that this is what I wanted to do for my capstone because it perfectly connected my love for nature and design. Beyond the Meadow is a state-themed flower press kit that actually, weirdly enough, originated from a dream that I had a couple years ago. This is an actual screenshot from my notes. After the dream had happened, I woke up and quickly typed it in my notes before I went back to bed. The idea did change a couple times before I landed on the exact theme of the kit. I originally wanted to do a state park theme kit, but then remembering from personal experience, you're not allowed to pick flowers in national parks. That's when the idea switched to state-themed kit. The idea of the kit is that when you're in the assigned state, for example, Alaska, you pick the flower, you press the flower in the flower press, and then when the flower's done being pressed, you place it in the scrapbook, and in the scrapbook there are facts about the flower that relate to the flower and the state that it came from. After I planned out what I wanted to exactly do for my capstone, I started with the logo. I wanted it to be different, but I also wanted it to stand out. I started sketching out a couple ideas, as you can see here. Those are a couple of the ideas I sketched out. And then in class, we all decided together which one best fit my theme. For the colors, I wanted the colors to give off a low saturated feel that made it look like the pressed flowers. And as you can see, the Beyond the Meadow actually goes beyond the circle, giving off the idea that the flowers that you pick are going beyond the meadow and being saved as a memory pressed in your scrapbook. After getting the sketch done, I started playing with fonts and colors and the layout of how the font would actually go. And those are a couple of the ideas I went through before landing on my final design. Obviously, the logo is a little different from the sketch, but I decided that simple was the way to go. And even with the logo being more simple, it still gave the same themes that I wanted in the original sketch. And then finally, I placed the logo on my business stationery to see how it all actually looked together. Next, I needed to pick out the flowers I wanted to represent Alaska. I first researched and picked the most beautiful and popular flowers from Alaska and narrowed it down to 12 flowers. In one of the flowers, I included the national flower, the forget-me-not. Then I decided on the style that I wanted to draw them in, and as you can see here are a couple notes of the styles I thought about doing. I wanted it to be something not too simple, but also not too complex. And I wanted the colors to be bright as if they were still alive. To draw them, I used Adobe Illustrator. I figured that this program was best for me because I am most familiar and skilled with it. And then these are the 12 flowers. After drawing the flowers, I placed them in InDesign, where I started the layout of the scrapbook pages. I went through several different ideas for the layout, but eventually landed on the one I have now. Idea number 1 was the original idea. Originally, I was going to press the flower on the actual fax page, but later realized that wasn't going to be the best idea, so I changed it to idea number 2. I also then created an instruction page explaining how to press the flowers and then how to place them in the book. And then I designed also a binder that you would place all these items in. Next, I planned out my flower press for the flowers. And thanks to my dad for helping me actually put it together. He actually did most of the work. I did later put a couple of finishing touches on it, personalizing it with my Beyond the Meadow logo. And then while making the press, my dad wanted to make sure that it would actually work. So I ran out to the garden and I picked a couple flowers and we pressed them, and it does work. I also realized that the flowers look kind of like one of the flowers I had drawn, so I placed it in the scrapbook and used it as an example for the book. With the flower press, I also wanted to design 3 different seed packets of the most popular flowers, including the state flower. So therefore, I decided to design the forget-me-not, the fireweed, and the lupine. As I did with every other design process, I went through several different ideas before I landed on the one that I finally wanted. And these are the final designs that I actually chose. On the seed packet, I also have, I did research on how to actually plant the flower, and then there's also tips on how to grow them. My original plan was to press flowers and actually have them displayed tonight. And so luckily enough, this past summer, my parents went on their 25th wedding anniversary trip to Alaska, and I asked them to get me some flower seeds so that I could grow flowers and press them on my own. But as you can tell, that plan failed. Not only did I not plant them soon enough, but also only 2 of them started growing. And one of them's dying, but whatever. And here are a couple of pictures of them growing. The middle picture is actually the first sprout, which I was really excited about. And then, oh, there we go. But I do hope to eventually have them blossom, and I will press them on my own and put them in my scrapbook for myself. But in conclusion, my creative journey has been one of discovery, development, and a deep love of both design and nature. From experimenting in Word Publisher to creating this capstone project, every step has shaped who I am as a designer today. Beyond the Meadow not only brought together my love for nature and design, but also allowed me to share this passion with others in this unique way. Thank you for joining me tonight and being a part of this chapter in my creative journey. And next up is Emmeline.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emmeline Metz. If you know me, you know that one of my favorite things to do is create, which is ultimately what led me to pursue a career in graphic design. I've always loved the process of taking an idea and bringing it to life visually, whether it's through art, design, or even music. I also love running with my family, spending time outdoors, and playing or listening to music. It's a big part of how I recharge and find inspiration. When I first started at Bethany, I originally majored in computer science, thinking it was a good mix of creativity and logic. But my passion for design kept pulling me in another direction. So I switched to graphic design, and I couldn't be happier with that choice. Graphic design has allowed me to combine my love for creativity with some of the technical skills I learned in computer science early on. I feel like I'm using the talents God has given me, and with every project, I'm reminded why I love this field. When I officially switched my major freshman year, I kept hearing about this Capstone show that every graphic design major would have to present, way in the future, right before graduating. Back then, it felt like such a far time off, and an almost intimidating idea, and now here we are. It's hard to believe we're here. For my capstone project, I wanted to combine the many skills and techniques I've developed over the past 3.5 years into something that reflects who I am as a designer. When brainstorming ideas, my dad suggested creating a coffee shop, and that sparked something for me. It gave me the chance to build a whole brand from scratch and have complete creative freedom. The first step was deciding on a color scheme, so I decided on choosing lots of greens. It's my favorite color, and it also felt like the perfect choice to represent something natural, fresh, and healthy. Okay. Growing up, my mom always made us organic and healthy foods for me and my siblings, and I wanted to subtly reflect that in the brand. That's where the idea of a coffee shop with a natural and wholesome vibe came from. Next came the logo. After many sketches and lots of brainstorming, I created the final design, a coffee shop with leaves integrated into the stem and beside it. The color scheme and the leafy elements tie back to the healthy and organic feel I was going for. I also wanted to incorporate subtle elements inspired by mid-2000s design, like gradients and smooth shapes, but with a modern twist to keep it fresh and relevant. Then came the name. I wanted something that fit the vibe of the brand, and with help from my close friends, we came up with it. Verde means green in Spanish, which ties to the color scheme. It's also partly inspired by a town called Camp Verde in my home state of Arizona, so it's a small reference to where I grew up. For the typography, I chose two contrasting fonts. One is clean and modern, and the other is more playful. I think that they complement each other well and enhance the overall feel of the brand. When designing the products, I drew inspiration from some of my favorite coffee shops. I love when a brand's design goes past just the logo, when their cups, menus, and decor tell a cohesive story. That's why I created a colorful and fun to-go cup that reflects the brand's personality instead of just keeping them plain. For the 3D video I created, I took inspiration from the cozy vibe of small-town coffee shops, places filled with unique color and decor, and lots of houseplants. It felt like the perfect setting for the Cafe Verde brand. For the Instagram posts, I focused on blending graphic design elements with lifestyle imagery. I found that combining these two approaches makes a brand feel polished while also approachable and engaging for its audience. Throughout the rest of the designs, I use leafy patterns, organic shapes, and vibrant colors to make the brand eye-catching and inviting. Instead of going with a minimalist style, I leaned into creating designs with lots of personality. As I was preparing for tonight, I realized how much this project means to me because of all the little details that went into it. The theme of Cafe Verde and even the idea itself were inspired by my parents. My friends played a huge role too, from helping me brainstorm to encouraging me when I hit creative blocks. The name Cafe Verde reflects a piece of my roots with its connection to Arizona and the inspiration of a good friend. Looking back, I realized how much support I've had along the way, and I couldn't have done this without the people around me. Yeah, so first I'd like to thank my family for the motivation and support throughout my college journey and this project particularly. Thank you to Andy Overn especially for the guidance in graphic design throughout the many graphic design courses I've had with him. Also thank you to Sydney, Chris, Naomi, and William for letting me bounce endless ideas off of you and all the encouragement over the last few months leading up to today. And finally, thank you to Darsie and Hannah for keeping me sane almost every weekday this semester. Also, I really appreciate everyone being here and supporting our work tonight. It means a lot to us. Thank you. Oh, and next we have Lizzie.
Hi, everybody. First of all, I really want to thank everybody who showed up today and took the time to come see my paintings and hear about my project and support me. Thank you all so much. It really, really means a lot to see how many people are here. And I want to say thank you even more to my friends and professors who have encouraged me and helped me out this semester. You are seriously the reason I was able to do all this. So thank you. Around March last year is when I seriously started thinking about what I wanted to do for my capstone. I didn't have a real direction until I came across the quote, "Write like everybody you know is dead," by Joe Lansdale. It sounds a bit morbid, but it really stuck with me. I started thinking about what things I wish I had said or what I'm too scared to say. I'm not a very good writer, but I gave a lot of thought about what I have to say to the world. Being in college, I spent a lot of my time wanting to go back to my childhood. I watch old favorite Disney movies and shows like Bluey that remind me of my family growing up. I tend to resist the big life changes, and I'm sad whenever I realize I've grown out of something. I know that I'm so blessed to have had a good childhood, and moving out of my parents' house made me realize how much I actually miss my mom. As a kid, I was always looking, pondering and contemplating my surroundings. I can remember so much, the way things looked and felt to me. I know that my memories won't last forever. They will fade and change with life and new experiences. So I wanted to immortalize what I can while I can. Mom used to tell me and my sister Estrella stories all the time. Sometimes they'd be made up fairy tales, and sometimes real stories from her childhood. I loved hearing them, and the way she would tell them was always so perfect. I think my paintings are partially a reply to tell her stories about my childhood. She's there, of course, but I want her to know what I saw too. Children will notice. Thank you. Children will notice. Kids are absolute masters of observation. They are learning to experience the world for the first time, and parents are their number one example to follow. I noticed how my mom would read books to me, reading the words out loud while she tapped the pictures to show me exactly what was going on. I watched so carefully, and then when I got to read books to my younger siblings, I would try to imitate her exactly. I noticed her patience with me. I was a very energetic kid, and even now I can be stubborn, but she still helps me whenever I need it. All of these paintings have stories behind them, so I want to kind of go through them and share a little bit about each one. I'll start with the painting I painted first. There's a slide, but you can also just look. I called this one Sunday Morning. I wanted this one to be from my perspective as a kid, literally looking up to her. Oh, it's the one where my mom is doing her hair in the mirror, right there. The portrait is fairly realistic, but I wanted it to feel more hazy like memories tend to be. So I surrounded her with some patterns from the old curtains we had in our basement that I loved, and the curlicue swirls she would doodle on things. I always thought they were so graceful and perfect, and like I could never replicate them. I think a lot of people remember their mom getting ready. For some reason, that sticks with people. And I think that's a remnant of the mentality that a lot of kids have, where they idolize their parents and think they're perfect. I'm going in order, so I'll talk about the one next to it. I made this one second. There we go. This one is called The Last Time I Was Rocked to Sleep. It's set in my old bedroom with our bright green carpet, 4 different colored walls, and the bunk bed that I still share with my sister. This one was a challenge for me to start painting. I had a reference, but I didn't like the way it looked, and I was very, very stuck. So I took Professor Jasperson's advice and just tried to start anyway. This was probably the best decision I could have made because the painting just emerged from there. The story behind it is that I was having a rough day. I think I was having a play date with my best friend Joanna, but I became too tired and I was just not going well. My mom sent her home and came into my room, and she just held me and rocked me to sleep. I was maybe 10 or 11, and I remember thinking even then that it's been a while since I was rocked to sleep like this. The concept that one day a kid gets picked up and then unknowingly put down for the last time always gets me. And I'm glad I remember this and was able to capture it on canvas. I started the storybook one next. I did. It didn't go, but that's okay. This one is called The Big Red Barn, after one of my favorite books as a kid. I wanted this one to have a unique composition, so I angled the camera from above. This is the only one where you can't really see my mom's face. You can see her hands, and that's on purpose. This one is kind of a mix of memories. Like I said, my mom used to read me books and carefully tap the pages to help me understand what was going on. She would point out all the little details that I should notice. And when I was old enough to read to my younger siblings, I tried to copy her. That's why you can't see the face, because it's both experiences. It's an example of how directly a small habit can be copied and passed on. The next three I started sort of all at the same time. But I'll talk about this one first. The composition of the backyard is the furthest distance away because it sort of represents a peripheral perspective. I'd be playing outside with Estrella and my neighbor's twins, Aria and London. My mom and their mom, Jessie, were both stay-at-home moms and would stand by the fence and talk for hours while keeping an eye on us. They had very different personalities, but we were all friends, and I think having a little backyard community was so special and unique. The next one is called Nothing Has Changed. It's the one all the way at the end where we're making cookies. Oh, that one. The title is a little confusing, but there is a story behind it. The perspective is very simple and straightforward. I wanted the story to be told with the faces. I left the background plain because I really just love the shiny, sparkly effect that it has. This is a memory that actually comes with a home video too. My mom would capture little moments like this all the time. And last Christmas, we got them all put on CD and got to watch them for the first time in a long time. In this one, we're making sugar cookies, and Estrella, my sister, is looking directly at the camera and eating the dough. Even when mom tells her to stop, she shakes her head and keeps eating. Meanwhile, I am focused on making one single cookie. Something about this specific moment, I think, captured exactly something that is exactly me and Estrella's personality. Even though it's been years and we've grown up, we're still the same people. And I still get flour all over the kitchen whenever I bake. The last one is called Pretending to be Asleep at the End of a Car Trip. The title gives a lot of it away, but I had this one in mind for a while. I love the colors of night, and especially all the bright lights on the road. And there's something so calming about being in the back seat of a car, half asleep, and opening my eyes to see Dad driving and my mom in the passenger seat. I feel like a lot of people have this memory of magically waking up a block before getting home and pretending to be asleep so that they can be carried into the house. There's something so safe and calming about that doesn't really have an adult equivalent. These paintings are the memories that I wanted my mom to see from my perspective. I want her to know that I treasure her and the effort she put into raising me. Being a mother is such an undervalued vocation. There is no pay, no promotions, no awards, and yet it has the biggest impact on all of us. Although I'm painting this for my mom, I also want to celebrate all parents who dedicate their lives to their kids. And sometimes we need to tell the people in our lives that we're thankful for them and that we love them because it's up to us to do so. To go along with these paintings, I wrote a short letter to my mom. I thought it would go well with everything, and so I'm gonna read it out loud. Dear Mom, I've been watching you my whole life. You've been the perfect guide, showing me with your actions what I should do and how I should navigate this confusing world. I seem to always awkwardly stumble my way through new phases in life, but I've always had safety and security in you. I have not been the perfect daughter, and life obviously has its ups and downs, but I have never had to doubt that I was loved. And I know that you know me better than anyone, and I can trust you with anything. You have done so much for me. I remember so many times that you have picked me up and held my hand through challenges. Small ones like in 4th grade when you would type my words onto the computer for me because my typing speed was 1 word per minute. Or when you'd read to me out loud so I could actually make it through the chapter for English class. Even now, you remind me of all the appointments I would forget and call me when I don't know what I need to buy from the store. I always appreciate the encouragement that you text me, and when I'm at home, you stay up late even though you know it'll make you cranky the next day. You've been there for me in the exact way I need you, from when I was a baby to now as an adult. God has surely worked through you to the benefit of so many people, and I'm so glad that I get to be your daughter. The first thing that I thought of when I heard that quote is that I want to tell you that I love you. I want to thank you for being such a good mom. Life happens unexpectedly sometimes, and I would not want it to go by without truly expressing my gratitude to you and Dad. You are the most consistent and constant blessing in my life. I love you so much. Love, your daughter.
Plenty of time for questions, so anything at all you'd like to ask our soon-to-be graduates? Now's the time.
I'm Lizzie's grandpa, and I've seen her drawing from infancy. But I'm wondering about the others. When did you find out that you had a design or creativity in you? At what age?
Since I could draw, I remember always putting things up on the fridge from school, so I guess since I could pick up a pen and marker, crayon.
Yeah, I kind of touched on that in my presentation a little. I'm not really sure. I just know that I've always been creating, so it's always been in there in me. Don't know the exact moment it all happened, though.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. Ever since I can remember, and I know my parents would put me in like art camps even when I was homeschooled and stuff, so I'd get the education when I was little, and they'd always buy me art sets. So I guess just yeah.
And Grandpa, you know the answer to this, but for everybody else, I've been doing art forever, like literally since I can remember. There's videos of me, like 1 or 2, with the pencil drawing. So always. Joey.
So this one's for you specifically. After making these paintings, do you think in the future you'll continue to have projects be letters for people?
I think letters is a good way to put this one. I think similar. I want my paintings and series of paintings to be for the people around me. I think right now that is my goal. I want, I don't need to be famous or change the world. I just want to do what I can for the people that I love. And painting is a way that I can do that. So, hope that helps.
This is for all of you. Do you all plan on using your graphic design skills and utilizing them in the future? And if so, in what? Or do you just oh, you did graphic design, great, you have a degree, and now you're doing whatever. But what are your future plans? I'm sure you get this asked a lot, but I'm curious.
After grad, I'm actually not sure on what I do, but I do know that I want to use my degree in some sort of way, maybe freelance, or I don't mind working under somebody as well, or helping my parents out. My dad works at a Trinity Lutheran School in Janesville, and I do some things around there, so I'll probably continue to do so.
Well, right now my plan is to move home and work at Camp Trinity and Christian News. Occasionally I get some graphic design projects in there, but for the most part it's doing what my mom tells me to do. Maybe one day eventually I'll have a more permanent job in graphic design, but for right now that's my plan.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing for me right now. My dad keeps me busy with t-shirt designs for the high school track and cross-country teams, which is nice. Hopefully one day I can get a job in like web design or more t-shirt design. Anything graphic design related would be nice, so yeah.
I'm not graphic design, but I do have a future, hopefully. So next semester, I have the wonderful opportunity to study abroad in Greece. So I'm going to be doing that for the immediate future. And then once I get back, I think I'll live at home, try to network, get commissions, and wherever, I just trust God. Wherever God takes me, I know that he will provide. So that's my answer. Morgan?
Just repeat it.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so she said, what was my thought process when picking which memories to paint? That's a really good question. At the beginning of this, I wrote down maybe 25 or to 30 memories or things that I wanted to paint. I have a list on my phone, a list in my sketchbook, and I kind of just narrowed it down. I said, what are the strongest ones? What are the best ones that I should paint first? Because I knew I wasn't going to make it to 25. So I narrowed it down, what ones would look best, what ones would mean the best, and within those, what's the variety. So they're all, I don't know, yeah, I just thought of them and then did a bunch of organizing and sketching to narrow it down. Lydia?
Question for Hannah. Why did you pick flowers from Alaska? Why was Alaska your state?
Well, when I first started, I just literally looked up the state with the most beautiful flowers, and then Alaska was one of the first couple that popped up, and I was like, oh, I've been to Alaska. Most people haven't done that, so that's why I chose Alaska. Yeah, there's no real specific reason. Yeah. Okay.
I have a question for Lizzie.
Yes.
Would you sell any of your paintings?
I would. They are all for sale. He asked if I'm selling them. I would. I think, I don't know. I kind of want to expand this series, like keep working on it after this. So I'm not like ready to give them away, but definitely, if any of you or anyone wants them, talk to me and we'll figure it out. But yeah, I'd love to give this to people. Does that answer your question? How about let's do Nora and then Allie.
This is for all of you guys, actually. So like, I see the capstone project, so it's a project to work on. So what specifically have you learned about yourself and how you work on things over this project? So I feel like it's probably one of those where you figure out a lot of things like, oh, I can't work on this every single day for 5 hours. So like, what's something that you learned about your creative process?
she asked what is something that we have learned about ourselves throughout our creative process, because it's such a big thing. Should I start? Sure, go. Okay. I relearned a lot of things that I already knew. I know that I procrastinate. I know that I'm gonna do things last minute. I work good under pressure, but artistically, I learned so much from this project. I've never done a series like this or even a painting this big before any of these. So a lot of these are very different in style, and that was a lot of like exploration with each one. So I learned what I like, what I don't like, what background colors to use, how I like to mix paint, and I'm excited to do more so that I can, put into practice the things that I learned, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was kind of a lot of I procrastinate and do things last minute. I think also I am very good at losing my files and having to re-screenshot or recreate something. So I guess just when I design things like this, having a better process book to keep track of when I made things and the name of fonts and things like that. So that will definitely reduce the time and stress. Yeah.
One thing, growing plants isn't my thing. As you can tell, only one of them's really living back there. Also, I discovered some skills that I can actually do in Illustrator. As you can tell, I'm actually very proud of my flowers. They turned out a lot better than I figured they were going to, so maybe artistic-wise, I'm not as bad as I thought I was, but yeah.
I'm a perfectionist, so me realizing that not everything is going to be perfect was probably what I learned the most, yeah.
Okay, I can project, so it's not a problem. This is for everybody. So, of your works, what is your favorite piece of art that you did for this exhibit?
What is our favorite piece of work that we did is what she asked. Yeah. So my first flower I actually drew was the Forget-Me-Not, which is this first blue one right here. When I first drew it, I had actually done it in a almost completely different style, and not until I had started doing some of the other flowers I realized I needed to change it. So I'm glad I realized that, and I like a lot how it turned out. But then also my seed packets, I'm kind of proud of those too. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, my favorite is the top left one. It's the Rooted in Faith. I really like all the vibrant colors and yeah. Yep, that's my favorite. That was also my first one too. And the one that is the one I worked the hardest on, so.
Mine are kind of all very different, I guess. So I guess I like the packaging ones, like the coffee cups and the coffee bean bag, because when I first made it, it's just a flat thing on a screen, and then I put them on the mock-up, which is the thing that makes it look like a real printed package. And so I guess just how they came to life is really cool to me. So, yeah.
Well, I definitely have a least favorite, but I think my favorite one I think would have to be falling asleep at the end of a car trip. I think that one, I love the way the colors turned out. I like how you can kind of tell what it's about, but there's layers to it. I really like that. But my favorite section of a piece is probably the one where we're making cookies. I really like how I painted my mom in that. I think it turned out nicely. Joanna.
Besides the people in your life, what influences your art the most? This is for all of you, sorry.
Yeah. She said, besides the people in our lives, what influences our art the most? Probably for me, Pinterest. I am on Pinterest a lot, and it's my museum. I look at art all the time on there. So Pinterest, I love fashion. It's not really applying to these particular paintings, but I love fashion. I love fashion design. Yeah. Or feelings, like emotions, and nighttime. Nighttime is very inspiring to me.
I'm definitely a Pinterest user too. Also, with graphic design, I get a lot of ideas from different Instagram posts or just social media posts in general. And occasionally, I do get some inspiration from ChatGPT whenever I need the help, but that's very occasional. I've done it like once, but yeah.
Sorry, I forgot what I was going to say earlier. I think for me, it's like art is just kind of something I just do. Like when I'm taking notes in class, I just am subconsciously doodling on the side. And so I guess it's just something I've always done as like a outlet. And then I think also when I create things for like assignments or for like the jobs I've had, I guess I feel like I'm using the skills that God gave me, the talents that God gave me, and so that I think influences me a lot to keep doing it.
I also use Pinterest, but a lot of the colors that I use, they come from God's nature in creation, and I really wanted that to reflect my brand, so those are the colors that I use throughout, and I'm really glad with how it turned out. So.
Do you guys have like favorite artists or favorite creators that you draw inspiration from?
Me to go first? Sure. No. There's a girl named All Things by Lillian, and she also likes to use illustrations, and her stuff's like got that handmade feel. So I would say her for sure, and I also like the vibrant colors that she uses as well.
Not really. I don't really know artists, so just whatever I see. Yeah. Yep.
I'm kind of with Hannah on that one for graphic design anyway, and for artists, I'm not good with names sometimes. So, but there is this one artist who did one of my favorite music artists' album covers, and I went and looked at a bunch of his work, and he makes really cool textures with paint, and I think that's really cool. His name is James R. Eads, I think. So.
Is it cool if I say you? Really, the artists in my life are my biggest inspiration. So Lydia, of course, you. Laura Sonic, I loved your paintings. Jason, all the people in my life that are artists inspire me. And also John Singer Sargent.
So I think last semester I was in this 3D design class with them, and so the program we used was called Unreal Engine, and basically it came with a bunch of like preset 3D elements, but you can also design your own and import them, or find others and import them. So basically I resized them and arranged them into the coffee shop. Yeah, it was it was, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's like realistic, like, I think things are like scanned in and like from real life sometimes. I think they use it to like make certain video games too, and it's just hyper realistic scans of things that you can place in an environment, and there's even like wind for some of the elements, and I think I used Steam, and yeah, so I don't know if that makes sense, but it's kind of hard to explain.
Since you guys are all seniors now, do you guys have any advice to the freshmen who are scared for their capstones?
Go to the capstone presentations. The first and only one I went to was last year's, and I regret that. I wish I would have went to more to see how they went. But that's all I can think.
I was in your shoes. Right now I can't believe I'm doing this. When I was a freshman, I could not have at all. My professors will say they have heard me say like 3 words, but yeah, I guess just taking classes where you are forced to public speak. I know you have to take one here, and I mean I work a customer service job, so that also helps. Yeah.
Advice. I think maybe two advice. One is it's never too early to start. You can start right now. That's good. I should have started earlier. That would have been nice. And I had another one. Oh, it's that you don't have to do everything by yourself. Reach out to people, ask for help. They'll help you most of the time. Usually. I haven't run across anyone who wouldn't, but that's my advice.
I'm bad with time, so creating a timeline really helps, and like a list of all your deliverables that you want. That's all I've got.
I actually have one more. Oh, okay, sorry. So as you can see, we did have to buy a couple things. I would set aside a couple dollars for that, especially when you're in college. Money's, tight.
Okay, there's a couple reasons for you to hang around for a few minutes afterwards. One, there's food. That's always good. The other is there are websites. Our 3 designers have websites that are worthy of a few minutes of your attention. And the things, again, designers don't usually design for an exhibition. Lizzie's got great big paintings that are easy to take in, even from a distance. But these things maybe warrant a little bit more up close and personal look. So hang around for a few minutes, and if you think of any more questions, you guys will answer them, right? Yeah. They will. Okay, so thank you again for coming tonight. Let's give them all a round of applause.